Hey everyone, Train Freak here, and today we are going to do a operations video, and this is actually going to be a collab video because after my video is over, there will be a continuation video on someone else's channel, and I will have a card at the top right corner at the very end of this video, so that way you have a direct link to continue on. Now, about this operations video, this is a collaboration involving a very special box card that should be coming on the screen right now. There it is. And yes, it's that weathered box card that I was challenged by John Arthur. And that's because he has the exact same box car. And that is the box car we are going to be following in this operations video. So our train is coming from the staging yard, and it will be making its way to the yard very soon. Now our mixed manifest train is coming into the yard. It's coming on track 1, which is the arrival track. It is headed by 2 F7 units, both an A and a B. Locomotives number 927 and 928. The yard restriction is 15 scale miles per hour. And while there is a moving locomotive in the yard, the bell of that locomotive must stay on. So once our train gets all the way in and stops, then the locomotives will break off. They will make their way over to the engine facilities for refueling. And the switcher, which is going to be an Alco S3, locomotive number 1063, will start working and classifying this train to the correct departure tracks. Alright everyone, so here's the cards for our whole train that just came in the yard. And so we've got 2 for our locomotives, and then we've got each of the cars in order. Now the one that we are going to be following today is, no, it's not that one, this one right here. Okay, so this card is actually going to Y Junction. And the reason being is because when I flip this over, you're going to see Big John's warehouse right there. But before it can go to Big John's warehouse, it's got to go to the Shack-A-Sit Furniture company to get loaded. So this is the car we're going to be following through our whole train. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that real quick, and then we're going to carry on with the moving of our train classification and so forth. Here we have our switcher connecting to our very special box car and a cut of other cars with it. The switcher's job is just to take all the cars off the arrival track, which is track 1, and classify them between the 3 different outbound or departure tracks based on which train those cars would go out to. In this case, our train is pulling the cars off of track 1, and it's going to push them onto track 3, which is the departure track for our local. The local has already took half of that train out to be service to all the other different industries. So now our switcher has space to push these cars. Our local has returned, and it has dropped off all of its cars on track 1. The locomotive has since connected to one end of our train on track 3, since that is his departure, and it is now going to be leaving the yard and headed to all the other industries and interchange yards if needed to deliver the pieces of rolling stock on this train to make sure that they reach their destinations. The local is now sitting off to the right. It is waiting for track clearance to be able to drop off and pick up cars out of this interchange yard, which our special boxcar will get dropped off. However, it's waiting on the industrial complex locomotive to pretty much get out of the way. Right now it's dropping off the last cut of cars because these cars are at the industries that the cars on our local is destined for. So these cars needed to be put into the interchange yard first so the local can take it back, and then the local will also drop off all the cars that are going to these industries in this industrial complex. Okay, so now since the GP9 that is running the industrial complex has dropped off the rest of the cars from the industries, now our local can come in and switch cars in and out. Alright? Now not all these cars in the industry will go. Track 1 is full of cars that all are to be dropped off at these industries. However, the 2 that are on track 3 and the 4 that are on track 4 are to be moved out. On our local, we have a mix of cards. We have this one's getting dropped off, but these 2 are not. Then we have 3 that are getting dropped off, 1 that isn't, 1 that is, and then the last 2 are not. And it's all color coded so that way we know. The purple at the top represents that yard right there, or the industries that are attached to it. The green here represents a different train, so this has got to go back to the main yard. The same with the blue, it represents a different train. It's got to go back to the main yard. Now our local has disconnected part of the train that is not to be dropped off in the interchange yard. So that way it can start setting off the cars that are to be dropped off, and then it can also pick up the cars that are supposed to be picked up. There is no rhyme or reason as far as the 4 tracks in the interchange yard. Any 4 tracks could be used for set-offs or pickups, either way it goes. Right now our locomotive is dropping our boxcar off. Now the industrial complex locomotive is starting to organize or block some of the cars together, since the local has now made its way back towards the yard. And right now it's actually picking up our boxcar, which is on track 2, and then there's another boxcar, the first one on track 1, that are both going to the same industry, which is the shack sit. So it's going to connect those two boxcars together, and it will continue blocking the rest of all the cars on all the tracks. Here you can see the industrial complex locomotive connect to our boxcar, which is also connected to some others, which makes up a cut of cars, and it will pull these up past the crossover to the main line and back into the runaround tracks. The industries that house these cars require these cars to be pushed from the front of the locomotive, which you can see the shack-a-sit furniture in the background. So that is why we have to run around. So here the locomotive is backing it in. It is disconnected or decoupled, and it's going to pull up, and then it will back into the track in front of this cut of cars and couple on the other side. It will pull them backwards onto the what we call a feeder track, and then it will start pushing these cars to their respective industries. The first two cars on this cut of car, the weathered Cotton Belt boxcar and the Santa Fe boxcar, are both going to the Shack-a-Sit Furniture Company, which will be pushed in. The other two cars are actually going to go to an industry that is past the Shack-a-Sit Furniture Company. Now our locomotive is pushing our two boxcars, which the Cotton Belt one, that's our special one, so that way it can load furniture up once they are completely dropped off, and then the locomotive will take that cattle car and the other Cotton Belt boxcar and move it to its respective industry. Okay, so now our special boxcar has been delivered. It is the end of the day. So we're basically going to now cycle to the next day. Our boxcar is officially loaded. So on the car cards, I would literally just take, here's our special boxcar. I would take the weigh bill out. We're going to flip the weigh bill over. Alright, so this now is going to be headed off to Richmond, Virginia, to Big John's warehouse. And that is on John Arthur's layout. And the contents is furniture. So let's go ahead and load it up, and I will show you all the steps it has to take to get out of my layout and hopefully eventually make it to his. The locomotive is coming in now as our boxcar is loaded, and now it has to make its way back to the interchange yard so that way the local can come pick it up and take it back to the yard for it to go out on a manifest. So this locomotive is literally having to retrace its steps from the day before, but in opposite order. So what this means is the locomotive is having to pull these two boxcars in reverse direction to the feeder track. It will then continue to push these cars onto one of the tracks so that way the locomotive can disconnect and it can go and run around, which will allow it to connect on the other end. Now that our locomotive has now ran around the two boxcars, it is now going to pull it up to the other track feeder and push it into track 4 on the interchange yard, which could have more pieces of rolling stock attached to it later, or if the local gets to it, then the local will come and pick those two cars up on their own, with possibly cars from the other tracks as it's dropping off more cars in the interchange. Now the local has come back and it is now working on picking up all of the cars to go back to the yard. Right now it is attaching our boxcar that is on track 4 to the back end of this train, and then it will pull up and connect to the two boxcars and the caboose that are sitting on the siding just in front of the double crossover. Now our local is starting to make its way headed back to the yard, which it will be classified and our boxcar will get put on a outbound manifest. Now our local is coming back into the yard. It's coming on track 1, just like the day before, which track 1 is our arrival track. Then the switcher will classify these cars. Now the thing about the local is there's some cars that are destined to go back on the local, and that's because the local might have picked a car up after already servicing an industry before. So the local will typically run a lot more than a manifest will. Your manifest is typically your longer trains, locals are shorter, and that's because they're the ones that are servicing the industry. So the local will end up making multiple trips in a day. Here you can see our switcher has now connected to this Santa Fe hopper, which our boxcar is attached to it. It's going to pull this cut of cars up to the feeder track, and then it will start classifying to their outbound destination. Now the switcher is pushing these 3 cars onto track 2 and connecting to the rest of the train so our manifest can depart out. Now our mixed manifest, which is pulled by the 2 F units again, are going to slowly make its way out of the yard, as every car on this train is going to be headed to different destinations where they will arrive to other yards to be classified, and which they could be put on another train, they could be sent, on a local. There's no telling. I mean, the possibilities are endless with these. But our special boxcar that's already passed is on its way to Richmond, Virginia, which it will probably have to go through a couple of different railroads to make it there, where the Seaboard Airline will accept it and put it in, or deliver it to Big John's warehouse over in Richmond, Virginia. As our train is now headed back to the staging yard, which is off layout, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Please check the upper right corner for a card to John Arthur's video, as he will be continuing the destination of our special boxcar on his channel. And always, make sure that you subscribe if you haven't done so already. Fill in the bell, thumbs up always help. You can comment if you want to. And if you want to be a supportive member to this channel, you check out my Teespring, Patreon, and PayPal. Have a blessed day and happy railroading.